She parked on my lawn every single morning. Same spot. Same smug smile. And when I complained to the HOA, they laughed at me. So I waited. I planned. And on a Tuesday morning in October, 3 tons of mulch arrived at my house, and every single neighbor came outside to watch what happened next. Didn't see that coming? This is your last chance this week. Subscribe now, because these stories only get crazier. Before we continue, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I moved into Maplewood Estates because I thought it was the kind of neighborhood where people respected each other. Trimmed hedges, friendly waves, you know the type, and for the first 2 months it was exactly that. Then Diane moved in next door. Now I'm not going to call her Karen right away. I'll let her earn that. She pulled up in a white Escalade so big it practically had its own zip code, and from day one she had this energy, like she owned the street, the sidewalk, and every blade of grass between them. I should have known. I really should have known. It started on a Wednesday. I looked out my kitchen window with my morning coffee, and there it was, her white Escalade parked halfway onto my front lawn. 2 tires. Right on my grass. I figured it was a one-time thing. Maybe she misjudged the curb. I let it go. Thursday morning, same thing. Friday, same thing, but this time she'd gone deeper. 3 tires on the grass. She was getting comfortable. I walked over that Saturday and knocked on her door. She answered in a silk robe, holding a smoothie, looking at me like I'd just interrupted something important. "Hey, I noticed your car keeps rolling onto my lawn," I said. "Could you park it straight? It's tearing up the grass." She looked at me. Then she looked at her car. Then back at me. "It's just grass," she said. And she closed the door. Just grass. I stood on her porch for a full 5 seconds before I turned around and walked back inside. But here's what I didn't know yet, and this is where the story starts getting dark. Diane wasn't just a rude neighbor. She was something far worse. I filed a complaint with the HOA the following Monday, filled out the form, attached photos, documented every date. I felt good about it. Confident. I thought the system would work. 2 weeks later, I got a letter back. It said, and I'm reading this word for word, after review, no violation was found. Please maintain positive neighbor relations. No violation. She was parking on my lawn and there was no violation. I called the HOA office and asked to speak with whoever reviewed my case. The woman on the phone got very quiet and then said, "That would be board member Diane Holloway." I had to sit down. Diane was on the HOA board. She had reviewed her own case. She had dismissed her own complaint. And I had played right into her hands by going through the official channels she controlled. Every single complaint I filed was going to land on her desk. She wasn't just my rude neighbor. She was the system. I spent a week feeling defeated. And then I started thinking, if the HOA wasn't going to stop her from using my lawn, then I was going to make my lawn completely unusable. It took me 9 days to plan it properly. I called 3 different landscaping companies. I researched load-bearing capacity of residential driveways. I checked the exact property line twice with a surveyor, because I wanted everything I did to be 100% legal, 100% on my property, and 100% unstoppable. Then I placed the order. 3 tons of mulch, cedar, the kind that smells incredible and stains everything it touches a deep reddish brown. The truck showed up at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. The driver asked me where I wanted it. I pointed to my front lawn, specifically to the section where her tires had been killing my grass for 6 straight weeks. He nodded and started dumping. The sound was extraordinary. That deep, rumbling pour of 3 tons of mulch hitting the ground is something you feel in your chest. And within 4 minutes of it starting, I had 3 neighbors on their porches. Within 8 minutes, I had 6. By the time the truck finished, there was a mulch mound 4 feet high and 20 feet wide sitting exactly where Diane parked every morning. Still on my property. Still perfectly legal. But completely, utterly impassable. And then Diane's front door opened. She walked out in workout clothes, keys in hand, stopped at the edge of her driveway and stared. She didn't say anything for almost 10 seconds. Then she turned to me. I was standing on my porch with a coffee mug, and she said, "You cannot do this." "It's just mulch," I said. "But here's the twist," and I promise you I did not plan this part. As the landscaping crew was raking the edges of the mulch pile to clean it up, one of the workers called me over. He'd found something buried in the ground beneath the surface, right in the tracks where her tires had been compressing the soil for weeks. An unmarked sprinkler pipe. Old. Probably 1980s installation, and it had been cracked, likely from the repeated weight of her 3-ton Escalade driving over it, which meant water had been silently leaking under my lawn for weeks, softening the soil, creating an invisible sinkhole risk that ran directly toward the foundation of my house. A structural engineer later estimated the damage repair at $4,000. The cause was documented. The vehicle. The weight. The repeated trespass. Diane's insurance company was very interested in that report. So was the HOA. The real HOA board members, the ones Diane hadn't told about the complaint she'd buried. When 2 other board members found out she'd dismissed a formal grievance that she personally had a stake in, they called an emergency session. She was removed from the board within 3 weeks. Conflict of interest. Misconduct. The vote wasn't even close. The insurance claim took 4 months to settle. Diane's premium went up. My lawn got repaired and reseeded, fully covered. The mulch is still there, by the way. I spread it properly into a beautiful landscaped border with some ornamental grasses and a small Japanese maple. My lawn looks incredible now. Several neighbors have asked who my landscaper is. Diane still lives next door. She doesn't wave. She doesn't look at me when she's getting into her Escalade, which, by the way, she now parks perfectly within the lines of her own driveway. Every single time, the HOA, the one she used to run, sent me a letter last spring. A formal one. It was an apology for the mishandling of my original complaint and a confirmation that new conflict of interest rules had been written into the bylaws. 3 tons of mulch, $4,000 in damages recovered, 1 board member removed, and the most beautiful front yard on Maplewood Estates. All because she said, "It's just grass." If this story had you nodding along or cheering by the end, you're exactly where you belong. Subscribe so you never miss what comes next.